Alright guys, so bit of a brief introduction. Welcome to the channel. My name is Jack. I don't really have any filmmaking experience. I'm not a mechanic. This is my hobby, so I'm going to be another one of those YouTubers with a MX5, but you hear me out, it might be a bit different. So a bit of history about me is I actually have a white collar office job. I'm not a mechanic by trade, I've been trained as a mechanic, and over COVID I just wanted to get a hobby to get outside of the house a wee bit while still social distancing. So I found myself with an MX5. I started off with a Mark II. Bought it and it was a Cat C. I was never told about that, so I swiftly decided to get rid of it. Then I bought another Mark II, and it was bought it with a broken diff, so fitted a new diff into it, all going well, couldn't complain. Next thing I know, it starts burning oil like crazy. So a friend of mine, long story, maybe I'll tell you one day how I met him. He let me work out of his driveway at the time because I had nowhere to keep a car, and my driveway at my parents' home was on a hill. So we got the engine out, inspected the engine, broke down the engine, and then that's whenever we realised that it was actually the valve stem seals, and there was also an issue with the crank. So that engine was scrapped and the MX5 was scrapped. Then I went on to a Mark 1. Bought a Mark 1 off a guy in Northern Ireland, which is where I'm from, well, the north of Ireland, depending on who you are or what you believe. And that Mark 1 was a fantastic car, but unfortunately the guy I bought it off has a habit of buying cars from Scotland for very cheap, like we're talking £400 or £500. Cars that should be broken, okay? What he'll do is he'll slap on a few new panels, weld it in. He'll do like lap welding, that's what he will, and then he'll put on an inch of filler. So whenever I bought the car, I went down and looked at it. I brought my friend, who was a metal worker, and he looked at it. He thought it seemed fine, no issues at all with it, and it's very cheap as well. I think I bought it for like £1,800, which I was able to afford through cryptocurrency, because that was amazing back then, before it all shit itself. So I had that car for about a year, maybe. At this time I was renting a shed with a couple of friends, and I started to look at the rust properly, and that's whenever I discovered how badly the work had actually been done to the car. So there was like a massive hole in the boot, maybe about 10 by 12 inches, and all the inners sill was completely gone. You could take a screwdriver and you could put it through the sill, and it would go into the floor on the other side of the car. So with that, once again, looking for parts, scrapped it. This is after I first turbocharged it. Interesting fact about me is that I turbocharged the car before I changed a spare tire at the side of a road. So I kind of fell into the hobby pretty fast through the support of friends and YouTube, which is part of the reason why I want to make a YouTube channel as well, so I can share my experience. So the idea for the channel is just basically because it's a goal for me. It was sort of part of my New Year's resolution, and it's something that I would really like to try out. Like I said, look, I'm not a mechanic, I'm not a metal worker, I'm not a body prep guy, but one thing I like to do is I like to kind of do things myself. I like to work with my hands, especially because I have a desk job and I don't really get that satisfaction from my career. So I'm always trying to pick up new things, learn new skills, and try new challenges, and that's just part of who I am as a person. So behind me we have a 2002 MX5 1.8. It was turbocharged, and it was running about, it was supposed to be 1 bar, so about 14.5 psi, and it was actually 17 psi because of boost creep from a Chinese turbo, which you can see in the background over there. And unfortunately that was too much for the wee car and spun a rod. And the engine only had about 500 miles in it, because before that a hose had split, and because the hose split it actually warped the head. So that's a bit of a background in this car. So yeah, like I said, this channel is because I don't really have many friends over here. Currently living in England, in Liverpool, great city, definitely recommend visiting. And because of that, I want to start a channel to try to give me a bit of motivation to keep going, because I don't really have any friends to help me out around here, or just sort of share experiences with. Obviously I still have the guys back home from where I'm from, and a couple of friends in Wales, which hopefully, we might see more on the channel whenever I can get this car back on the road. So that was a bit of interest about this car. Now, Liverpool. I moved here, I bought a Mark 1 from Brighton, bought it for £1,200. It was an automatic, it was a B2 Limited, it was 1997, so it was one of the last Mark 1s. and me and my girlfriend, who I moved over here with, we drove down. Well, we got a train down to Brighton, and we picked it up, drove it back. First time driving an automatic, fucking terrifying. Kept trying to put in the clutch and just slamming on the brake. Almost crashed about 4 times. So we brought back up to Liverpool, went on a drive, and then going around Wales and Snowdon with MX5 North Wales, and that's whenever I realised that automatics aren't fun. So me being me, I decided to do a manual swap in the car park of my flats, which drew quite a lot of attention, and a lot of people were asking me to work on their cars. But like I said before, I'm not a real mechanic. So I sold that car for, I had it advertised for 26, didn't really get much interest, ended up selling it for 2, and the guy sold it to, sold it a month later for free, and then the guy sold it after for 3.5. So I kind of shot myself in the foot a wee bit. But with that money I got from the Mark 1, I got a good friend of mine to bring his car over from Ireland, and thankfully I had somewhere to keep it because one of my neighbours broke down, and he gave me a call because he thought I was a mechanic, and I went, looked at his car. It was like a Hyundai i30 or something, and the car had a lazy eye, so basically the tie rod end just completely snapped off, and one of the wheels is going that way and the other wheel was going straight, and I just went, this car's fucked. So he went and he got it recovered to another guy. He owned a garage, really friendly guy, Ray. You might see him one point. He's like 6'4", like massive cunt, or massive guy. Sorry, I didn't curse there. And we ended up about a week later after I met Ray. Been up a few times at this stage. I said to him, "Hey, look, I'd like to get my car brought over from Ireland. It needs a new engine. It spun a bearing. Well, suspected spun a bearing." And he was like, "Yeah, that's fine, no worries, get brought over here, whatever." So we got brought over there, and long story short, got the engine out, no problem. Sent the engine off to be rebuilt. But the guy that wanted to build the engine, I wanted to do it myself, but Ray wouldn't let me because I'm not a real mechanic, once again. So the plan was then to decide to send it off to be built, and the engine builder didn't like the pistons. The pistons were fine, there was just a wee bit of marks from slaps, but the ring lands, everything was fine, still would have worked. So he told me he wanted me to order new pistons, so I ordered new pistons, and by the time that they arrived, unfortunately, I had started poking in places where you shouldn't really be poking on a 20-year-old Japanese car, and that was whenever I found out the car was completely rotten. So one thing, I work 9 to 5, Ray works 9 to 5, so it was very difficult to get up and see the car. So, you know, a week became 4 weeks, 4 weeks became 2 months, and then that happened. So fortunately enough, I've been able to get this garage that we're standing in right now. I pay £150 a month for it, which is an absolute steal and a half, and it comes with electricity. There's no water, but no issues with that. So that's just a brief introduction to the channel, and hopefully we can get this ball rolling, and hopefully it might keep me motivated, and we can learn things together. Thanks.